So this wasn't easy. This is maybe one of the hardest things that I've ever done as a photographer. I felt like I was kind of wasting my time. I wasn't making the most of it. I just had so much planned while I was in the city. I had, trips to other places, to other countries. I hadn't really had that many opportunities to go shoot in the first place. About 2 weeks from the time that I had to leave New York and come to Montreal, I decided I was gonna shoot every single day until I left the city. Rain or shine, warm, freezing, windy, doesn't matter. There were days that were like pulling teeth to go outside. And there were days where I was walking around with my camera like, I would rather do anything else than this. But then there were also days where I took some of the best photos that I've ever taken in my life, not even just in New York. And one thing about shooting every single day is it does put you in front of opportunities that you're not gonna have if you're not there. So if nothing else, whether this was, rejuvenating for my creativity or a slow descent into madness, which is definitely what it felt like some days, I learned a lot, and I want to talk about it day by day and show you the photos I got, show you the footage that I got, and just go through exactly how it went down. Okay, so day one actually went pretty well. We're starting out strong. I was still pretty inspired by the prospect of the project. I mean, I love photography, even burnt out. Just going outside with the camera is one of my favorite things in the world to do. So day one, strong start. I went down to 125th Street. I lived up in Harlem. Every time I'm in New York, I stay uptown just because it's easier and just better overall for like everyday things, running groceries, all that kind of stuff. Dealing with like downtown, midtown every single day. Not necessarily a vibe, depends on what you're into. It's also just like way cheaper. You can get a beer for $6-7. You can get, food that's not like Michelin star prices. And then when you want the craziness of the city, you just train right away. One thing you're gonna probably hear me say a lot is that it was a super busy day at my real job, my day job, which is 1,000 things going on. So I didn't get out until the light was almost gone, but I still made the most of it. I shot around the Harlem Piers and the overpass, like the trestle that runs over the street, and then just out at the piers. I mean, shooting around water is a habit of mine. It's just something that I'm like always drawn to. My only big takeaway from that day is just that I feel like I'm actually more likely to get something that I love when I least expect it than if I were to plan everything out, look at photo pills, look at where the light is gonna be. If I do that, pretty much 80% chance that the photo's just not gonna turn out how I want. If I just grab my camera, put it in my bag, and like just go randomly wander around somewhere, that seems to be more successful for some reason. So day two, I feel like I already was kind of aware that this was gonna be a tiring experiment at this point. Our brains just are not wired to be creative every single day, and again, was already dealing with insane levels of burnout. But I did get a couple of shots that I'm really happy with. Mostly thanks to the light and the subjects being perfect. One thing that I did luck out with at this project is just the fact that New York happened to have like the most perfect, idyllic weather for almost all of October going into November, which is very unusual. I was very ready for this to be a struggle in that regard, having to, get wet and cold and go out, with a jacket and gloves and stuff on. But honestly, most of this project, I was walking around in a t-shirt. It was just unbelievably nice and, a little scary. But yeah, I did get a couple shots, like I said, that I really liked, so hopefully you enjoy those. So day three, things started to really go downhill a little bit more. I went down to Chelsea. It was a Thursday, so the galleries they all stay open a little bit later, and then some of them serve wine and stuff, and there's just like a huge cluster of galleries around like the Chelsea, Tribeca area. Grab a friend, go to the Chelsea galleries, just kind of like wander through the open houses, and I figured I would bring my X-Pro 3 and just kind of, see what I get. But I also started around the Hudson Piers, which is just a place that I've never been before. Yeah, it wasn't great, to be honest. Definitely not what I had in mind. I feel like I barely made it downtown in time to get the decent light that I was hoping for. Again, something that's a recurring theme throughout this project. And I really struggle anytime I feel like I've wasted my time, as you can probably tell just from this whole project in general, but going out, you know, putting myself out there and then just feeling like it was kind of all for nothing is a challenging feeling for me. So day 3, not a lot to write home about, but this sort of like slope of negativity is about to end because day 4 was Friday. The light was perfect, and I went down to one of my absolute favorite places to shoot in New York. 2 Bridges. If you haven't been there, if you're gonna go to New York and you're a photographer, please, for the love of God, go to 2 Bridges. I don't know if it's some sort of like realtor created neighborhood name or whatever, but it's just the area in between the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. And when you're there, there's this bike path, walking path. It's just kind of like a pedestrian area where you're right on the East River, and you can see both of the bridges. That's why it's called 2 Bridges. You can see the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, and you can get a ton of cool compositions using the architecture to kind of frame the bridges. People are walking around there. It's just a great spot. You can shoot the Brooklyn skyline, and then, you know, during golden hour, it's just like absolute easy mode for street photography. Okay, so day 5. One of my absolute favorite things to do as a photographer is to plan like a full day. Not all photography, because it gets old to just like shoot for 12 hours, but you know, museums, coffee shops, restaurant, I want to try whatever. So yeah, day 5 was a Saturday. I got up really early to get some of that soft morning light, but I didn't end up doing a ton with it. Also, one of my stops was Central Park. And to be honest with you, just don't really like Central Park that much. I just think that New York has so many parks, and Central Park is not really a park, but instead more of like a tourist attraction. Part of my plan was to go to the Guggenheim, which is a museum I hadn't been to. It was kind of not under construction, but they were installing new art exhibits, which was a little bit of a bummer because I love Frank Lloyd Wright. He's the architect who designed the Guggenheim. I had a lot of luck around 5th Ave. I did like a little mini photo project just documenting the streets from about 5 blocks down from the Guggenheim to 5 blocks up. And then yeah, once the light got harsh, I just headed into the museum, checked out the exhibits. It was half price because it was, you know, under construction, so that was cool. And then after I wrapped up there, I took the train pretty deep into Brooklyn, actually further into Brooklyn I've ever been before. That trip was very much more about this cluster of breweries that's supposed to be really good. And so I went and tried 2 of them. They're great. And also happened to get a couple shots around the subway entrance, one of the subway entrances. I mean, overall this day, I didn't take a million photos or anything, which is kind of good because of just all of the editing that was going to come from this project. So it was nice to have a little bit of a break in that regard. But yeah, I got a few things that I like for sure. Okay, day 6. One of my absolute favorite days from this project. I did the Staten Island Ferry. I have, you know, seen the Statue of Liberty and stuff from the ferries, the East River ferries that go up and down, like from Domino Park to Pier 11 and stuff. But yeah, I'd never done the Staten Island Ferry, which is the cheapest way to see the Statue of Liberty because it's free. You just kind of get herded on like cattle. But if you know anything about me and my work, I am an absolute sucker, like I said even earlier in this video, for anything water related, but especially boats and ferries. I feel like some of my best photos I've ever taken have been on ferries. That was no different. Yeah, day 6, Staten Island Ferry. Light was perfect, weather was perfect, people were super chill, and the Staten Island Ferry is, you know, full of tourists, so it's really easy for street photography. It's not as confrontational as like being in downtown Manhattan and, you know, maybe not wanting to disturb certain people and stuff, but the ferry, I feel like there's less of an expectation of privacy. People are expecting you to take photos, which is part of the reason why shooting on ferries is so easy. So yeah, I got so many photos that I liked. The sunset was just absolutely phenomenal, and then I just walked around the South Ferry area at the very, very southern tip of Manhattan. Enjoyed the rest of the sunset, hung out, perfect way to end the weekend. Highly recommend. Again, 2 Bridges, Staten Island Ferry. If you're gonna do 2 things in New York, that's a good place to start.